Yari Walker. There at the Anchorage Museum. When I came to screen my film there many years ago, and I met her, and my eyes were just like this big, and I had to touch her arms, and we were just like touching each other's hands and so excited. And now when I see people that I don't know with traditional tattoos, I just smile and nod and keep going, and I can't stop and talk to everybody because there's so many of us now. It's wonderful how normalized it's become again, and how even people, when I first started doing my tattoo research, like whatever, 20 years ago now, I guess, I don't know, somewhere, I can't count anymore. I'm getting old. People would be like, oh no, I would never do that. That's just not for me. And those exact same people now, 20, 10, 15 years later, like, oh, I think I'm going to get some now. I think I'm ready. And, how quickly tastes can change depending on what context you're in. We learned colonial beauty standards for much of our lives, and we can unlearn them too.
Yeah, but I mean, I also see like the bravery that the people, like from the beginning and the people are now. I sort of like, when I always tell it like this, there's this river and all these reindeers, they need to cross the river, and like the bravest reindeers, they go first. Like they make the path for other reindeers, and then suddenly all of them are just running over. And that's how I see like those who are bravest, well, not bravest, but those who get them first also create a path for others who want them. Like when you're one of the first to get the markings, you also know that there are a lot of lateral violence to, like, you will get a lot of hits your way, and you have to be strong, and you have to like stand your ground and remember who you are, you got your markings, not to be, especially in the beginning, because you can be so vulnerable from your surroundings while you are getting used to your own facial markings again. And then it's so important to be surrounded by people too that like makes you stand your ground and believe that there's nothing wrong with taking back your markings. And in the beginning, we were so few, we couldn't really we were mostly standing alone. But now I know others are doing that too, when they feel vulnerable in the first part of like the time after getting the markings. I know that others are really open. If you need to talk to someone, I'm here. And if you don't want to feel alone, you can also always come to my place. And that's also what I keep offering people. You're always welcome if you need anything, because here in Greenland, you can still get comments, negative comments. You can still, there's still this white male supremacistic view, and it's such a strong signal to send to someone who have been defining beauty standards that you don't care about it. You don't make that suppress who you are, and you just stand in front of him, and all his opinion and comments, they can't touch you. They can't shake you and your spirit. And honestly, it must be so scary for them not to have that power anymore, right?
That's beautiful. I never thought of it that way.
Mm.
Can you both talk a little bit more about receiving your tattoos and what that experience was like, and of beauty, and what was that like for you personally?
I mean, it was in my film. I talked about it a lot. Just kidding. I mean, it was terrifying, but it was also such a relief. Because I'd been researching for them for so many years and traveling all over and interviewing all these people. And I was at that point, I was just drawing and redrawing the same tattoos over and over again. And, in the beginning, I was doing all different patterns all the time and trying to see what I liked. And then it kind of shifted over time. And eventually I was drawing the same patterns over and over and over again. And it just got so annoying to have to redraw them. Because it's hard to make it symmetric and perfect, right? It looks funny when it's not. And this is my boy. Hello, Licky. So when I was finally able to get my tattoos, it was such a relief that they were permanent, because it felt like they were already part of me. And I just remember crying and thinking, my God, I never have to draw them again. Like they're I can't ruin them. And they're just perfect forever. And also just the feeling of taking part in something that I know thousands and thousands of Inuit women have done before me. That was such an incredible feeling. We talk about being among the first to bring it back, but I think it was Jerry Sharp Staples who said to me, "We're not the first. There have been thousands of women before us. We're just continuing it on. It's not about us as individuals. It's it's such a beautiful feeling to be able to join the club and do something that your ancestors have done before you. It just feels right, feels good. And that feeling of, like you were saying, Paninnguaq, that they communicate to everyone around you now that you know who you are and you are proud of who you are. And when you never have to say it, people just know right away from your face that you don't believe in the shame that colonization has tried to bring on you, that you just reject it, and you can do it softly because you wear it on your face every day. So It was 1,000 different feelings at once, and it was beautiful and painful and such a relief.
Yeah, I fully agree. I mean, I think when I look back at my own journey, it has begun way before, maybe in my teen years, when my God, hinatsanui sakit tapos isigin natin ulit tapos. Where I grew up, and especially in our family, the Danish culture have been so overrepresented, and I have, and I just, when I look back, I have felt like I was drowning. Like I wasn't in as much contact with my foremothers part of our culture. And I have been hungry. My spirit, my soul have been hungry for that part of my identity, and I have only been in contact with it for like in small amounts. And when I start doing researching in Inuit culture and Inuit markings, I learned so much about myself, and it was like learning to know myself in a whole different level. I always saw myself and sought myself, trying to learn more about myself as an individual. And I have tried, and I couldn't find my place or my role to play. But when I start realizing that I was a part of something bigger than that, it was where I was grounded. That's where I found peace with who I was. Like I said, I grew up in a really Danish, overrepresented home and culture and language. So when I decided to get my markings, I was really scared because I come from a home that have really a lot of Western and white norms, and so I knew also because from both part of my family, from my father's part of family, there are Mormons, and from my mother's, there are Christians. So from both part of my families, they had a really strong beliefs against marking your body. So I knew that there will be a strong reaction, but in our family, the worst reaction is no reaction at all. So when I got my markings, I got no reactions at all. So and that's just like it's like waiting for the storm, and it just never comes, and you never really get that like relief or sort of. So my family, they have like they have got more used to, maybe they haven't fully accepted that I have so many tattoos now, but it's definitely have become a part of who they see when they think of me. Like they have become such a part of my life and my identity as Paninnguaq and Inuit. Then like that's what they see.
How about you, Alice?
Oh, me, I was going through a hard time in my life at that point, and I felt like I needed a grounding. I needed to like re-examine who I am and why I do what I do, and try to take space and time to remember that. Because so I'm going to kind of go off topic here a little bit, but I just came back from Nome, Sitnasoc, which is it's a Inuit place here in Alaska. And I had never been to Nome before until I went. So I was working on a project about sexual assault in Nome, kind of related to missing and murdered Indigenous women. And so what I was doing is I was there to interview other women about their experiences with sexual assault and the systemic issues with that in specifically Nome. And it's hard work. It's very difficult, but it's important to hear those stories and to share and let people know what's going on. But it was like a spiritual awakening for me, because I think I was longing for some kind of connection, or I can't really explain. I'm still processing it. I just got back last week, and so I'm like all over the place, but and I felt like my tattoos were a huge part of that spiritual awakening that happened to me in Nome, because it's Inuit Nunat. There's Inuit people that live in Nome, but I'd never been there before. But I felt like I had been there outside of my body, like it was so familiar, but so foreign at the same time.
Your body remembers.
Yeah, I think so. And my mom was telling me a story about when she went to Nome. She went to Nome from Barrow or Utqagvik to Nome on a boat, a wooden boat, like when she was 5 years old. When she came to, and she gained consciousness as a baby. And I was like, well, maybe that's why I'm feeling like this, and when I got there, there was a little girl. So we're required to quarantine, as soon as you get into Nome, you have to quarantine for 7 days, take a test when you land, and then take a test after 7 days to make sure that you don't spread COVID and all that kind of stuff, which is really great. But it was it was hard, you know, because I was in a new place, but it felt